Good evening. Welcome to our Zoom seminar, or forum actually tonight. My name is Polly Bovey. I'm a member of the board for the League of Women Voters, Cupertino and Sunnyvale, and I'll be your moderator this evening. Attendees will be in listen mode only, and only the panelists will be on video. The forum is being recorded and will be available on the League of Women Voters, Cupertino-Sunnyvale.org website in the next few days. Today's forum will run about 55 minutes. Next slide, please. Next slide after that, please. Next slide after that. So before we get to our candidates, we wanted to give you a little bit of additional information. Let's go to the next one. Oops, we missed the League of Women Voters, so I'll just talk about it right here. What's the League of Women Voters? Before we get to our candidates, there's some background information. It's about the League and about voting on November 5th. For over 100 years, the League has fought to improve U.S. systems of government and impact public policies through education and advocacy. Tonight's an example of the numerous educational efforts the League has planned around the November election. The League is strictly nonpartisan. It neither supports nor opposes candidates for office at any level of government. The League makes a difference because of the energy, passion of thousands of volunteer members around the country who work together to safeguard our democracy, and also the many volunteers who have worked together to make tonight's forum possible. Next slide, please. To say that the California ballot can be confusing is an understatement, but fortunately, the League has some help. It's called Vote 411. Among the many things on Vote 411, you'll find ballot measure information, factual data on candidates in various federal, state, and local races. But to find out specific information about your ballot, go to the Vote 411 website, click on Find What's on Your Ballot, and then enter your address, and all your information will come up. So we think you'll find that extremely helpful. Please go to the next slide. Everyone now receives their ballot by mail, but there are several ways to return your completed ballot. You may return your ballot by mail as well. No postage is necessary, but your ballot must be postmarked on or before Election Day, November 5th. If you're more comfortable delivering your ballot yourself, you can place your ballot in a drop box or deliver your ballot to a voter center. If you have questions regarding your registration or any items that you see on this slide, please go to for Santa Clara residents, please go to the Registrar of Voters Services at, it's right there, ROV Services at sccgov.org. Next slide, please. So these are some other sources of information, and I'm going to leave that up for a second. So if you want to take a picture of it, you can. But while you're doing that, I wanted to make sure that when you do vote, your vote gets counted. And so you need to, once you get the vote, you fill it out, you need to write your address on the return envelope. Your ballot will not be counted if there is no signature on the return envelope. So that's a very important step. And even more important is to be sure that the way you sign it is exactly the way your name appears on that envelope from the voters. You have to follow it exactly. It has to be signed in every part, first, middle, and last name, if that's how it appears, or just first and last, if that's how it appears. If it matches, your vote will count. If it doesn't, it won't. So don't go to all the effort of that and forget that one step. It is the most common reason that ballots sometimes don't get counted. Please go to the next slide. So tonight we're going to talk a little about Fremont Union High School District Trustee Area 2. And this is a brand new race, really. Last year, the Fremont Union High School District Board of Trustees decided to move to trustee area elections rather than general elections. It took a lot of time making this decision. And the area we're going to talk about tonight is Area 2, and you'll see it circled on that map. And that, as you can see, is most of North Sunnyvale. And so the two candidates tonight live in North Sunnyvale, and you that live in that area will be able to vote for one of these two candidates to represent you on the Board of Trustees. So go to the next slide. These are our two candidates. I'm going to introduce them to you in a minute. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about what they've already agreed to. They've agreed to the format and ground rules of this forum. I'll pose some questions which were gathered in advance. Each question has a designated response time of 90 seconds or 60 seconds. A timer will give candidates visual signals to help them pace their responses and stop on time. Each candidate has two 30-second rebuttal opportunities that they may use to rebut remarks from the other candidate. They may not use the rebuttal time to just add to their own comments or go off topic, but they can use them to rebut the other candidate's statement. Also, in advance of this forum, these candidates were provided with both the first and the last question in advance, so they had some time to prepare for those. Finally, we'd like to ask that the candidates and the public, if you choose to reference this recording or this forum or use it in any way, we would like you to use it in its entirety. Do not take clips of this forum. We want to keep this as a whole document. So we would appreciate that from all of you. So it is now time for me to extend my warm welcome to our two wonderful candidates, Pat Carpio Aguilar and Francis Renteria. And I want to just say, as they're getting their faces on our webinar here, how important it is to have quality, wonderful candidates on a school board. I was a superintendent for many years. I know how tough this job is. I know how important this job is. And I just want to say before we start, how grateful I am that you're taking the time and energy to run for this office. So thank you very much. And I look forward to us talking about some questions tonight. So as I said before, we picked a name out of a hat. And so the order that we'll start in tonight is Pat will be first and Francis will be second. And we're going to start with the question, Pat, for 90 seconds. Why are you qualified to be a member of the Fremont Union High School District Board of Trustees, Area 2?
Thank you. Good evening. Buenas noches a todos y todas. My name is Ms. Carpio Aguilar, as my students know me. I am a teacher here in the local neighborhood. I teach at Columbia Middle School, so there is an investment that I've made with my life to education. I've been a teacher both in the United States and in Mexico, from where I am originally. My journey in education is not solely in the classroom. I've also had the opportunity to be the director of a language school at the university where I used to work. So I had staff under my supervision, and my graduate degree in Mexico is as a teacher trainer, which is now more known as instructional coach. Here in the United States, I went into this thing that I love, that is education as well. And I earned a couple more degrees here in the States. I think that I'm qualified for this because I live and breathe education, but I also know about governance, and I know how to balance a budget for a school that you're running. I know how to have discussions about contract language because I've had to enforce contract language. And I also know how to reach out to the community because that's what, education is all about. So I understand how education works. I've been part of curriculum design in both countries where I've worked. And so that has a lens that really helps when you're in the boardroom making discussions about curriculum adoption, and obviously everything that has to do with contracts. You have to pay attention to the detail. And so as the teacher, that's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, very much. Francis, do you want me to repeat the question? You're muted.
No, you don't need to repeat the
Okay,
question.
Thank you. Thank you.
So first of all, I wanted to just thank the League of Women Voters for giving me the opportunity to be able to address the district and my community, and for hosting this event. My name is Francis Renteria, and besides being a parent, which makes me qualified, I come from a rather uniquely qualified background. I come with a different perspective, with new eyes coming in, with a fire science technology perspective. It is with those skills I understand implementations, systems, processes, enforcements, patterns. I see problems, and then I proceed to try to fix them. And in this position, I would use that academic, scientific type-based, thoughtful approach to improving the academic landscape. I would focus to serve the students to reach their academic goals with integrity. And my mother was a teacher, so I know what teachers go through, staying up late correcting papers, taking money out of their own pocket to help the more disadvantaged child. And so, yeah, those are basically the qualifications that I would
Thank you.
have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Pat, you're going to be the first to answer this question number 2. This is about your previous leadership experience. In your previous roles, how have your skills in leadership, negotiations, or policy development been demonstrated? Can you give us some specific examples? Francis is going to start this one.
Okay. So the examples of my leadership would be basically as a deputy state fire marshal. I was a firefighter for several years, and then I promoted to deputy state fire marshal. And in that capacity, I had managerial sections of California, and in that I had some authority. So that leadership, when I walk into a construction site to make sure that the plans, the blueprint plans, are copacetic to what the contractor is building, I would enforce those laws and those in the fire and life safety code, the electrical code, the mechanical code. So that leadership, I would sometimes have a whole CEO, a president, and those people following me at the on the construction site. So I had a lot of leadership.
Thank you very much, Pat. Francis, excuse me. Pat, you're next.
Thank you. Well, leadership, like I said, it's what teachers do. But if I want to be specific, well, here in the United States, I did get my master's from the University of Santa Clara, precisely in educational leadership. And when I was noticing that we were at the boardroom for Sunnyvale School District, where we were taking our classes, and I was noticing how the boardroom was a very empty space. And I was always asking about how we could incorporate the voices of students into that space. And that just brought about a lot of ideas that I thought we could implement. And I did one with art, where the county, one of my students got promoted and got this really neat prize. And the family came to the boardroom, even though the event was in Santa Clara County. But I've also participated intently with PTSA, with ELAC, with the reclassification process. And I've brought my concerns to the board in my district about transportation, about nutrition, and about electives, how everybody deserves to have that experience. And guess what? We now have all 3. So those are examples of how leadership matters.
Thank you very much, Pat. And Pat, you're going to be first on this next question. It's a 60-second question, and it's about passions and priorities. Tell us about your passions and the top 3 contributions you will make during your time in office.
Thank you. Well, I keep going back to this because it's what I know and I do the most every day is my students. My passion is the love that I feel for learning and seeing my students evolve and transform their minds and just their future kind of opening in front of them. So I do believe very strongly that students have a voice and we are obliged to listen. And they share with us their wisdom when they feel accepted and they feel welcome into the space of the decisions that are being made for them. So student voice and student agency, that's a really big passion of mine. I'm also very eager to remove frictions from the system that may be impeding the inclusion of all, and all means all. So for instance, if there are any language barriers that might be impeding people to come in and have conversations with us, those have to be removed. And obviously, just making sure that everybody feels safe, especially these days that we're living right now, everybody feels safe and welcome and acknowledged, and then they can thrive. So those are the passions that I stand for.
Thank you. So Francis, share some of your passions, please, and what you hope your contributions will be.
Well, my passion is definitely for the student and for the parents. My passion would be to ensure that we now are in a pretty good place. We have 96% of graduates graduating. I would like to see 100%. And it's not too far reaching. We can accomplish that. It's my passion that every student get an equal opportunity to get the best education that they can, that we can offer them. and every opportunity to be able to experience some of the field trips that we have, some of the sports that we have. It's my passion to see the students grow into adults that become a benefit to society and are successful in their careers, especially here in Silicon Valley, the heartbeat of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is another 60-second question. And Francis, this goes to you. School safety is a key concern for many parents and families. Knowing that what makes students safe can take many forms, what are your priorities and ideas for providing a safe school environment?
Definitely the safety issue. I'm big on safety. Number one, I would want to make sure that our fire and life safety codes are up to par, and maybe add some policies and procedures that are brand new, that have come to the forefront, especially given the things that have happened in Georgia, the shootings and things like that. I have some ideas that we could implement. And also, I know that there have been some conflicts and some bullying at school, and I would like to take care of that issue because each child should be able to sit in the classroom feeling safe and just concentrating on learning. And each parent needs to feel safe knowing that their child is in school and that they are safe and that they are learning, and not openly being bullied or anything like that. And also, safety in terms of drugs. We now have what we call a disguised drugs, which look like snacks. They look like Cheetos.
Maybe we'll have another opportunity for you to share that. So Pat, can you answer the question about school safety?
Thank you. Well, there are different forms of safety, and the one that comes to mind for me first is that you feel safe when you walk onto campus. When I say you, I mean everyone. Parents should feel safe when they come onto campus to have any discussion or any just kind of sharing what's on their mind. But obviously, I live and breathe with students. So students need to feel safe, again, just by walking onto campus and knowing that they are accepted, that they are loved, and that they are welcome. And so understanding that adolescence is a hard time in a human's life, to also have safety as a place where you can go and have the discussions with social workers, with psychologists, so that you can discuss these things, because the research is showing that the signs are there before catastrophes happen, and people are willing to share if you're willing to listen. So having staff available, that's important.
Thank you so much. So Pat, you're going to be first with this one, and this is about some district experiences. Describe a positive experience that you, your child, or someone you know has had with Fremont Union High School District. Explain how this experience represents a priority you want to preserve.
The students that I teach feed into the district, and I've had several occasions where when they are graduating, they call me and they ask me to attend. And the families, they still keep in touch. And I see that, even though before I just thought, well, that's what all teachers do. We keep in touch. There's been a connection there. And that means that when you open the door, people are willing to step through and have these conversations and make you part of a very vivid memory about how you affected, how you had an impact on their life, a positive impact. And so attending little parties like quinceañeras and obviously graduations and all that has made me feel like we are contributing to society. We are making a difference. And the students that are going to college tell me so. And I enjoy that very much.
Thank you, Pat. Francis, have we lost you? Oh, good. Thank you very much. It's your
Okay, would
chance.
you repeat the question, please?
Of course I can. Describe a positive experience that you, your child, or someone you know has had with Fremont Union High School District. Explain how this experience represents a priority you want to preserve.
I myself have graduated from Fremont High, and I have a child that graduated from Fremont High. So I hold Fremont High in high esteem. They are one of the best um, for getting people to graduate. And that experience, having my son graduate, was a happy one. And I'm glad he was able to do it. As a single mom, I wasn't able to really help him that much because I was working and trying to make a living. And so I just want to stand in the gap for parents that are single and sure that they have communication with with the teachers, parents, and but all my experiences with Fremont District have been pleasant. The school is beautiful. They always keep the upkeep really, really nice. And I've always admired them for that. And their decisions from the board have always been well thought out.
Thank you, Francis. So you're going to be first for this next question. Recently, Gavin Newsom encouraged all school districts to restrict cell phone use in classrooms, citing issues with mental health and scholastic and social risks. Do you believe that the Fremont Union High School District should restrict classroom cell phone use? Why or why not?
Well, not in the classroom. They can restrict it before they go into class, maybe put it in a basket or something and keep it there so that they're not distracted, so that the student can focus on what the teacher is explaining in front of the class, or so that they can really truly absorb what is being taught rather than looking and scrolling through their telephone. It is a type of distraction, and students do need to focus, especially teenagers. They need to focus on their studies and listen to what the instructor says. So cell phones, yeah, I think they can have them because under emergency situations, they're good to have, but they also need to be in a place where they're not that easily accessible, so that they can continue with their studies rather than being on the phone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mhm.
This conversation is not new to teachers. We've been having this conversation for a while now. And it looks like the government at the state level is listening. We've explored some ideas. I know that at the high schools in the Fremont Union High School District, they have pouches where some people are requested that their phone goes there, and that's even how some teachers take attendance. But there's also technology to support this, like the Yonder bags. And in 2026, when this will go into effect, I think we will have done the education to the parents and the students and everybody with research that has been coming out about how much the mental health is impacted by people who are too distracted with their phones or via any apps to actually focus on being present, being here, being now, and having like a conversation like this. Plus, most districts, I would guarantee that our district does, is one-to-one in technology. So really there is no need, except for like when you're maybe coming to school or going home, you might need that, but there are telephones everywhere.
Thank you very much. Okay, Pat, you're first on this one. This question is about equity. And you used a phrase earlier that is in fact a phrase used frequently in the Fremont Union High School District. It is all means all. And that's to announce their commitment to serve and support all of our students, staff, regardless of their race, their beliefs, their language, their immigration status, their sexual orientation, their gender identity, their socioeconomic status, or their educational needs. As a board member, how will you support this district commitment? Can I just check, please? Timer hold, please. Can we check to see, Francis, are you here, or is your signal weak? But yeah, we just didn't see your face. Thank you. I'm
May I
sorry.
start?
You may.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, I do believe in equity, and I do believe there is a purpose in giving people access to what they need, not to what we think they need. And so this is, for me, one of the prime directives of what I do in life. So all means all. Now, that doesn't mean you give everybody the same thing, because I might not need a new pair of shoes. I might need some new jeans. So children at home get what they need in the means that their family can provide, and at school we have to do the same thing. So if we notice that that's not the case, we are engaged and we are mandated to do something about it. And speaking of mandates, if this is legislation, it's not like you have a choice. I don't get to teach the people that I like in my classroom. You teach everyone. And that is the norm under which we live. And that's a moral and ethical imperative that we must follow. So yes, I believe all means all, and I do believe in equity. As a teacher, that's where we live. That's our heart.
Thank you so much. Francis?
I would have to agree with Pat. All means all. You can encompass people of any race, creed, financial status. All means all, and you teach them all the same, and you use the same. You be the same character, and you just you love them just the same as your own child, and you make sure that they're taken care of, okay? And yes, I believe that everybody should be treated equally and taught equally, and that they should focus on their academics as well. And all means all children of any types and shapes. So I would definitely agree with having a child in my classroom, or if I was a teacher, have a child in my classroom and ensure that that child's needs were met.
Thank you very much. Francis, you're going to start this next one. On every board agenda, there are numerous items about the significant construction work being done throughout the district. What experiences do you have that will help you effectively evaluate and vote on those ongoing facilities, contracts, and projects?
Well, that's actually a very easy one because I was a deputy state fire marshal and I knew the fire codes and I read blueprint plans. And I also tested and hydro tested large 5-inch underground pipes. I've also tested above sprinkler system pipes. I inspected the electrical and fire alarm systems, construction. So if there was something that needed to be looked at on the plans, I would be able to do it. I would make sure that they had all the permits and things like that that were necessary in order to start the project, and also ensure that the contractors are actually building according to the way the plans were approved. And that's actually how I made my living. That was my career. So I have a lot to offer there. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat?
So I have a great deal of respect for whoever is fulfilling a contract for construction, because I use the word, that's where I live in my heart. But if we go to the literal level, I mean, we all live in spaces where we want to feel safe, our homes, our schools. And we give a lot of credit and trust to those that are enacted with this responsibility. And so as board members, where do we come in? Well, I do have experience, like I was saying, in my previous experience as an administrator. I was very pleased when one of my former students, one of my English students who was pursuing architecture, actually built the school that was going to become the Definite School of Languages. And I was invited, because I was, the director of the school, I was invited to look at the blueprints. And one of the things that I noticed is like, we don't have an elevator, but we have 3 floors. And I asked that question and they're like, oh, we didn't know that we wanted that. And it's like, well, we need that. And this was way before ADA, and this was obviously in a different place and time, but I made note of that. And guess what? I didn't get it, but they did fix an alternative. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is about communication with the constituents in the newly formed trustee area 2. It's just another 60-second question. As a new representative of trustee area 2, what specific strategies will you use to reach out to your local community to ensure that their voices and concerns and needs are heard? I'm sorry, that would Pat.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. Thank you. Okay. So I'm a language teacher. I love talking and I love listening to people talk. Here is something that I think that I would like to see. People should know when the boardroom meetings are happening. And that is just as easy as clicking on a Google Calendar invite and sending it out to all our constituents with students in our district, as well as the students themselves. But not only that, when you're a teacher, you're going to go get your groceries and people will approach you. They notice you and they're like, hey, I want to talk to you about blank. And so you stop and you hold your cart and your groceries until the conversation is taken care of because you believe in that. And that happens to teachers all the time. But also having the opportunity to be a board member, you become very intentional. You do this by design. You make yourself available, whether it's at the local taco place or whether it's somewhere else. You create the venue and the space and you welcome people in so that they will be bringing you their ideas and what's on their mind, and you'll listen.
Thank you so much. Francis. You're muted, I'm sorry.
Repeat the question, please.
Sure. What do you, excuse me, as a new representative of Trustee Area 2, what specific strategies will you use to reach out to your local community to ensure that their voices, concerns, and needs are heard?
Well, I lived in this community and I know the community since it was orchards and trees and fields. In fact, I picked the fields and I picked the fruit off those trees. And so I've seen how our community has blended well with different cultures. And my strategy would be to keep the open communication, make sure that they knew that we were having meetings and maybe even some sort of a bulletin or something that would go out into the village and let them know what's happening in the schools and kind of update them. I know a lot of people in my area. I bump into people at the store and at the market. But I would also now as a board member be able to have access to perhaps a group of individuals that are constantly interested in knowing what's going on in schools, and parents definitely want to let the parents know. So my strategy would be for for them to be notified.
Thank you so much. Okay, Francis, you'll start with this one. The Fremont Union High School District offers a broad range of courses and programs to meet the diverse needs and interests of their students. In an environment of declining enrollment, what can you do to best preserve these broad offerings?
Well, we do need to have enrollment. So in order for the classes to be maintained and to stay and be offered. Otherwise, if we don't have the enrollment, we don't have the classes. And so I would say that I would concentrate on building up the enrollment and making the school attractive in certain areas that we do have, classes that we do have, we would make those classes available and advertised as strong learning classes. And that's basically what I would do is make sure that the enrollment is there in order to keep those classes.
Thank you.
And the teachers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pat?
High school is a time that is, it's very defining in our lives because we're choosing our college, our university. And so Fremont Union High School District, I think, can pride itself on the robust offering of all these different alternatives that they have in terms of courses. And people gravitate to that. Students like that, and that's why it's being offered. So while it's a very complex problem to say I can fix declining enrollment because that has to do with demographics and where people choose to live and based on what people can afford. What I can say is there are strategies that you can implement within the district about maybe job share amongst teachers so that they can be in on two different campuses if they so agree. And also they might have other credentials that are not tapped into yet. And so they can compensate with that. Like for instance, I have a couple of credentials, so that makes me more able to support wherever the need is. And I'm pretty sure there are other people out there. So making it marketable, but also retaining what students like.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you'll be the first to answer this next question. What do you see as some of the unique needs of trustee area 2? How will you balance these needs with the needs of all students, staff, and families in the entire district?
Thank you. I'm very aware that this is a historical moment, being that the northernmost part of Sunnyvale will have representation for the first time. And so some people that I talked to, even today, I went to a fundraiser for my local elementary school here. And one of the parents there was like, I didn't even know that. And he has a child in the district. So I think we have a lot of reaching out to people who live here to tell them how it is important to be informed. It is important to know what's literally on the ballot, but also it's important to like make that connection. And so I think that once you educate people of what a school board member does and how it represents them, and how once it's not just like I said, I just don't teach a student. I teach several students, several periods a day. So we serve everybody. And so beginning with education and then making sure that that blanket of covering everybody's needs is very, very viewed and known.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Francis.
Well, this area is high tech, and it's known as the heartbeat of the United States. We have high technology here, and we would need to make sure that our students are trained and well equipped to be able to compete in this area, being that it is a Silicon Valley high electronic area. And the parents need to know that the board has certain meetings that they would need to attend, so they know what's going on. They need to be active in the schools and know what their children are doing. The school needs to be open about what types of programs we do have, so that the improvement in our area can be sustained. This area is a mixed cultures, and it's beautifully blended. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll have you start with this next 60-second question. It's about transportation challenges. Many community members from North Sunnyvale have expressed concerns about the challenge of having their students find timely transportation to and from Fremont High School. What plans do you have to address this concern?
I do want to address that concern, because when I was going to Sunnyvale High before they closed it down, we did have a form of transportation. We would meet at the corner, the bus would pick us up, we would safely get on that bus and safely come back home. So I really believe that that would be advantageous for this part of the community, because they don't have that right now. And it is something that needs to be applied and looked at. I know that our budget is, we have about $482 million that's given to the school, and we give each student approximately almost $12,000 we spend on each student. Well, it does leave us some money, so we can most likely look at where that money is being spent and use it to perhaps provide transportation for the students that live on this side of the district too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat.
Thank you. I also live here a few blocks away from Columbia Middle School, where I teach. And I sometimes see my students, former students, coming home, and it's very late. And so I ask them, why are you getting home right now? So my hope is that they'll say most of the time, hey, I was doing sports, or I was doing this other activity. And it's like, oh, we walked home. And it's like, that's a long walk. Not only are they tired, I mean, they're coming home at a stroll, but it's also sometimes in inclement weather, not available to anybody. So obviously this has improved in the sense that we have tokens for buses, but I don't think it should be the public VTA that is responsible for taking our students to be safely transported to school. I think it's the district's responsibility. And I don't think that there is some space there for district and city to come together, just like they did for the library in Lakewood that is just going to get started, to come together and find a solution, because our students need to get to school safely. We can teach them once they're there.
Thank you so much. And this is a bit of a follow-up to the transportation issue. There was a recent VTA meeting where parents expressed concerns about safety of their children using VTA to travel to and from school. What would you do to address this concern?
I will elaborate a little bit more. I do not believe VTA is the safe transportation option for our students. It is the only transportation option right now. If you don't have a car or you don't have a bicycle, you have very few other options, because your parents have already left to get to work at around 5 o'clock and you're getting up to start your day that early. So you're kind of stressed out already. However, I know that this has happened in other cities like Cupertino. They have the hopper. And I believe that if we start looking for solutions that have already been tried out, it's not like we're going to reinvent the wheel. We will come up with those solutions. And also it's, we might have to flip the conversation and say, is there space for a school that is a magnet school, like Ms. Renteria was saying, that is really attractive? Because we have Google right over on the other side here where I live. So bring students in this direction because there's a school here, and make that equitable. But at least in the beginning, because that will take 10 years, make sure that you have proper transportation that is safe.
Thank you so much. Francis.
Definitely, we need transportation that is safe, because the students are getting up very early to get to school and they come home very late if they have to walk. Parents are working, and so students nowadays, it's almost dangerous to be walking by themselves home, the way that the times are in these times. And VTA is very long. I mean, it takes, they would have to get up too early in the morning. Then when they get home, they still have to do homework, and they're most likely exhausted. So coming up with maybe some ride shares or some kind of parent grouping that can, they can gather at one of the parents' homes and ride to school. We can, set up those type of programs until perhaps maybe we can look at maybe providing our own buses for our students, just like we had before. Thank you very much.
Francis, you'll be the first to answer this next question. It's about ethnic studies. Fremont Union High School District is currently offering an ethnic studies course as required by the state of California. What specific thoughts do you have about this course and its impact on the diverse population of the district, and specifically the area you represent? Well,
it's a good idea to be able to learn about each other, that there are different cultures. But we want to make sure that the ethics studies is going to unify them and have the students respect each other's cultures and not divide them or separate them. We need to make sure that we look at the curriculum, how it's being taught, so that each culture is respected, and we're grateful for all the different types of people that are here, because like I said, Sunnyvale is a blended family. We do have a lot of different ethnics, and we need to be able to teach the students to respect each other and to learn about each other and agree to disagree if they disagree. And that takes a form of maturity too as well. So we just really need to look at the curriculum and see how those ethnic studies are being taught and making sure that they're being taught fairly and balanced.
Thank you so much. Pat.
Thank you. Well, curriculum is one of my strengths. So when I hear that curriculum is being implemented, I really get excited, and I see the aspirational impact that this has. So in terms of ethnic studies, I do see it as a mirror and a way of looking at ourselves and who we are and our stories. Our stories matter. And in this area, as the question is directed to this area, this new area in the district that had never had representation before, we have a very large Spanish-speaking population, or people who have Spanish-speaking heritage, and they don't see themselves in curriculum, or have not seen themselves in curriculum in a way that is valid and uplifting and elevating and acknowledging of the culture that they bring. I am part of that. So to see that offered to students, to see that validation, it it really tells you that you do have a seat at the table, you are valued. And so it raises your self-esteem and it raises the self-esteem of the community.
Thank you so much. So Pat, you'll start this one. What new ideas do you have for the Fremont Union High School District to improve the overall well-being, mental health of students and staff?
I think we've made already a very good pathway into student well-being and mental health in general, because people are starting to notice. The pandemic brought that about, where we have to pay attention, and now they're getting services where they have like wellness centers and spaces where people can go and relax and kind of like think it over. So students are getting comfortable. They're scanning codes about how to receive the services. And I'm very hopeful, at least at my school, my district, I've seen this. For staff, we also, I mean, if the teacher is happy, the students are happy. I know, because that's what I do. So staff is also important because we are the ones that deliver every day. We're there. However, if our well-being is, left along the wayside because we're grown-ups, it gets to be really overwhelming after a while. So we are entitled to self-care. We are entitled to wellness. We are entitled to have check-ins about how we're doing.
Thank
So
you.
it goes both ways.
Thank you so much. So this next question is, I just want to give a little bit of a caveat to it. It's about funding issues and attracting and retaining great teachers and staff. Given that Fremont Union High School District does not receive the level of funding that many neighboring high-performing high school districts do, what strategies would you use to support and help the district attract and retain great teachers and staff?
Okay, we are a district. And when I say we, it's because our students feed into Fremont Union High School District. The district does have an allure to teachers. The profession is respected at Fremont Union High School District. And I think that because of that, and because obviously there is an income to match the amount of work that teachers do, we are in a very privileged position in Fremont Union High School District, as is my district where I work, where we compare at a higher level of income for the teachers. However, teachers have to go long ways back and forth. So that's not attractive to a lot. Even if you're making the money and you have the income to provide for your family, you have a lot of time back and forth just getting to work and getting home. So I think that if we could come up with solutions to keep the teachers around here, we'd be able to attend the games, would be able to go and clap at the plays. And that would mean looking for venues for affordable housing for teachers locally, where teachers could then really live and thrive in the place where they work and love their students even more.
Thank you so much. Francis?
I'll repeat the question, please.
Yes, given that Fremont Union High School District does not receive the level of funding that many neighboring high-performing high school districts do, what strategies would you use to support and help the district attract and retain great teachers and staff?
Well, first of all, we would look and see, since we don't have as much as, like, for example, Palo Alto, we can look at areas in our budgeting where we can start moving monies around so that we can get what we need for our teachers and for our students. Yeah, okay. So the way we can maintain the teachers is perhaps maybe offering them the classes that they really do like, and maybe when one retires, then another one can take that place, and then we can retain them, even though we don't have the money to continuously hire more because of the enrollment that has fallen. We can still work things out so we keep the good teachers, and they'll just most likely change to a different subject so we can retain them.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask a question here, which is it's a yes or no question, and then we'll follow up with it. Okay. So the question is, have you attended board meetings at the Fremont Union High School District? Could you raise your hand if it's yes? And when you attended those meetings, what did you notice? What did you see? And how is that, what did surprised you? And how is that forming your thinking about your role and what you would do as a board member? And Francis, you get to start this one.
Well, I saw that the board members, they care. And I've seen how they stick to their structure, which is really good because that promotes order. And they're allowed a certain time to go ahead and speak about what they believe is best for the school. And so I think that that's advantageous, and the community can see how they work. I I I like the way that they get along, and I would be most likely part of that team, and I would try to stay as like a team person without not forgetting what my morals or what my insight would be, so that what I think is best for the students. But I really was impressed with the kindness that they had to as well, and the focus that they had on certain
Thank you.
items.
Thank you so much. Pat?
Well, one thing that many people know about me is I attend board meetings religiously for my current district, for my former district, and obviously before, when I was an administrator. That was, it's just a way to become informed and know how policy is directing our actions every day. And so, yes, I do attend the board meetings. What I am noticing is how the reading that you do ahead of time and the review of all the documentation that you are going to be speaking to is a lot of the responsibility that happens, or the discussions that happen, are prepared ahead of time, because you have to read all this information. And to me, it's almost like doing graduate school again for the third time, because I am like asking myself, oh, look at that, I didn't know that. So I'm becoming more informed every time I go to the board meetings, because now I'm reading the packets as if I were actually going to be discussing them on the board, and attending to the Brown Act, and just checking and make sure that I'm ready.
Thank you so much. So we're now going to go to the last question. This is a 90-second question, and you know that you received it ahead of time. And we're going to start with you, Pat. What question do you wish you had been asked in this forum, and how would you answer that question?
There are many questions I wish I had been asked, but here is the one that I will adhere to. I wish you had asked me, why does representation matter, and how does it make a difference? And representation matters. I think this connects a little bit with what I was saying with ethnic studies. When you see yourself there, you believe in yourself. And right now, my students and the families are very excited, because they say, oh, Ms. Carpio, you are doing this. You're setting such a good example for the students. And I think, no, this is not about me. I am opening doors, and I'm holding the door open, because my students will see that I do have lofty goals for them. And I think that it is about time that this part of the district had representation, somebody who is offered a seat at the table because they are qualified, because they are invested, and because they have connections with the community. When you see yourself there, you become that person. So I think that it makes a difference to hear the voice of who you are, to see your values represented, to understand that you matter. It uplifts everybody who had been in this vacuum of existence. And so now it is no longer that way. And of course, I will step aside and make space for the next person who is able to carry this even forth to a larger degree. So it matters.
Thank you. Francis?
Well, the question that I would have liked to be asked is in the realm of safety for the students, and that how the drugs have been affecting our children in society. We now have what we call disguised drugs, and we have 7 smoke shops here in Sunnyvale, which not very many parents know about, and so they need to be informed that here in Santa Clara County, we have 7 of them, and they are selling drugs that look like snacks. They have a high content of alcohol in the drink, and they also have what they call a delta 8 THC in them, which is high content of cannabis. And these forms of candies, drinks, chips, sodas, if one of our students gets a hold of those drinks, for example, that has a high content in it, and you know how students are when they celebrate a birthday or graduation, they'll binge drink, and if they get a hold of one of those, one can could be lethal. And I really believe that we need to educate the parents and the students that these drugs are out there. And that's not to mention the fentanyl coming into our cities and our state. There's been accidental death with the disguised drugs. There has been 80% of the accidental ingestion has been through younger children.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to thank our candidates tonight and very much both for participating in our forum, giving thoughtful answers to our questions, and most of all for running for this office that is historic, and how grateful we all are that North Sunnyvale is going to have a representation. So I also, so I thank you for choosing to be with us tonight. And I thank everyone in the audience for also being with us tonight. And I want to remind you to vote on November 5th. The two candidates can feel free to turn off your screens if you would like. And this is just a picture of some of the events that the League of Women Voters has coming up. Some have already happened, but if you enjoyed tonight's forum, I'm sure you'll enjoy these. And they're great opportunities for you to meet the candidates, hear about issues, and really learn about how to fill out that ballot. So I hope you will indeed join us. You can find these also on the League of Women Voters Cupertino-Sunnyvale website. Next slide, please. Again, I want to thank you for attending. The webinar is now finished, and within a few days, a recording of this forum will be posted on our website. As you see there, the League of Women Voters, Cupertino-Sunnyvale.org, elections and forums. Thank you so much.